I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Your ego is literally holding you back. And I know that's not easy to hear. Nobody wants to admit that they're the reason their life isn't moving forward. Nobody wants to accept that the biggest obstacle isn't money, opportunity, genetics, or luck. It's themselves. But if nobody's ever told you this, let me be the first. Your ego is taking over your life. It's influencing the way you think, the way you respond, the way you approach your goals, and the worst part is, it's doing it silently. You don't even notice it. Your ego is killing your ability to progress, whether it's in your relationships, your career, school, your fitness, gaming, whatever your passion is. Ego ruins everything it touches, and in this video, I'm going to explain why it's ruining you, how it sneaks into your daily life without you even noticing, and what you can do to finally overcome it. The first thing you need to understand is this. You think you're special, and before you deny it, really think about how often you've acted like the world owes you something. You look at your goals and you already feel proud of yourself, even though you haven't even actually achieved them yet. You daydream about success so vividly that your brain starts rewarding you as if you've already earned it. You imagine the version of yourself who's already accomplished everything, and that fantasy gives you a sense of pride, not because of your actions, but because of your imagination. Now I want you to compare that feeling to your actual achievements. Think back to the biggest thing you've genuinely accomplished. Maybe it was graduating, maybe it was hitting a fitness goal, maybe it was finally committing to something after years of half trying. When you achieve that thing, you felt real pride, the kind that's built from effort, consistency, and discipline. A huge factor that made me realize this was YouTube. The fact I'm competing with millions of creators thinking I somehow deserve to grow is hilarious. It's pretty much delusional. There are people who have been grinding for 5, 10, 15 years. There are people dropping high effort videos every single week, learning new skills, reinventing their content, working harder than anyone realizes. And here I am, expecting recognition because I made a couple good videos. That is ego talking. Ego tells me I'm doing everything right. Ego tells me I deserve an audience simply because I want one. But my self-confidence, the part of me that's built from real effort, knows I have more to learn. It knows my videos can improve. It knows I need to study, to test formats, to fail publicly and privately, to keep going even when everything feels pointless. And that's the difference. Ego will lie to you, but humility teaches you everything you need. This brings me to another point, failing. Failure is something every person fears, but it's the single most necessary experience for success. Every influencer you look up to, every entrepreneur, every athlete, every musician, every creator, all of them have failed more times than you've even tried. They've embarrassed themselves publicly, they've lost money, they've been rejected, they've been criticized, they've been torn apart, and yet they still continued. People don't understand this. Failure isn't the opposite of success. Failure builds success. Because every time you fail, you learn something your ego would have never allowed you to learn. That's why so many of the greatest success stories talk about an ego death moment, a moment where life humbled them so brutally that it shattered their illusions. And that breaking point forced them to rebuild without ego. That's where growth happens and maturity begins. And here's the part most people don't want to hear. Ego doesn't just show up in big moments. It shows up in tiny decisions every day. It shows up when you ignore advice because you think you already know better. It shows up when you half listen instead of fully paying attention. It shows up when you blame external factors instead of asking yourself what you could have done better. Ego is subtle. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It convinces you that protecting your pride is more important than improving your life. And the dangerous thing is, ego feels safe. It makes you feel comfortable and gives you excuses. It tells you that you're fine where you are, but growth never happens in safety. Growth only happens when you're willing to look stupid, ask dumb questions, be corrected, and accept that you're not as advanced as you want to believe or portray. The people who win long term aren't the most talented. They're the ones who are willing to take the most risks and embarrass themselves the most. The truth is, ego disrupts your realistic thinking. It doesn't mean you shouldn't believe in yourself. It doesn't mean you shouldn't visualize success or manifest what you want. But it does mean that you don't deserve anything automatically. Life isn't a movie when the hero gets rewarded just because they're the main character. In the real world, most people never get what they want. Not because they're incapable, but because they believe the desire alone is enough. It's not. The world is harsh, competition is everywhere, time keeps moving forward whether you do or not, and unless you put in the uncomfortable, painful, unglamorous work, nothing will happen. Another thing that made me realize how damaging ego was is comparison. We are constantly on our phones, consuming people's highlight reels, their best moments, their biggest wins, and their flashiest achievements. We scroll through it daily, and subconsciously, we ask ourselves why we don't have that, why can't we do that, why are we not at that level yet? But here's the truth most people avoid. That desire is just ego in disguise. It's not motivation, it's literally entitlement. Because when you feel jealous or discouraged by someone else's success, what your ego is actually saying is that you deserve more than they do. But you really don't. You didn't see their grind, you didn't see their failures, their depression, their late nights, their sacrifices, their heartbreak, their internal battles. You saw the final 1% of their effort. And here's the ironic part. Even when you eventually achieve a goal, you will still never be satisfied. Think about it. Remember a goal you worked so insanely hard for. When you finally achieved it, didn't you immediately want more? Didn't you instantly set a new goal? That never-ending desire for more is your ego. It tells you that what you did wasn't enough and you deserve bigger. And instead of appreciating your growth, you push your achievements aside and start chasing something new. This creates a loop of emptiness, achievement without fulfillment. Now that I've gone through the negatives of ego, I want to show you how I've started overcoming it. Because I'm not perfect either. The first thing I learned is that ego stops you from learning. It restricts your curiosity. It convinces you that you already know enough. And honestly, admitting that you function with that mentality is embarrassing. At any level of profession, if you think you're done learning, you are delusional. You're limiting yourself, sabotaging your own future. The moment you admit that you know enough, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you will definitely fall behind in everything. Your relationships, your job, your skills, your mindset, your happiness, everything. The best people in every field share one trait. They stay students forever. They stay curious and they stay humble enough to admit that they don't know everything. And because of that, they improve infinitely more than people controlled by their ego. The second thing is recognizing that ego makes you overestimate your abilities while underestimating the pain and effort required to reach your goal. This is why so many people quit. The ego tells them that it's going to be straightforward, that they're naturally gifted, that the path will be completely smooth. And then the moment it becomes difficult, they collapse. If you want to overcome this, you need to force yourself to be realistic. Look at your past achievements. Look at what's actually attainable. Break your goals into steps. Study people in your field and learn from them. Watch tutorials, ask questions, do everything you can to build the skills you lack. And remain yourself. You don't deserve anything. You have to earn it. Finally, stop becoming comfortable. Ego makes you think you've made it before you've even started. The moment something begins to work, whether it's your fitness, your content, a skill, or a hobby, that should be your sign to go twice as hard. Don't relax. Do not coast. Don't sit still. Comfort is the enemy of growth. If something is working, you have to capitalize on it, double down, improve it, and stretch it. Build momentum. Whether it's a sport, a specific strategy, a YouTube format, a personal routine, whatever it is, do not let go. Do not let ego trick you into thinking progress means you can relax. The truth is simple. Ego whispers lies that makes your life easier in the moment, but harder in the long run. Humility tells you the truth, that growth is uncomfortable, embarrassing, slow, and often painful. But it's real, and it's the only thing that actually leads to the life you want. Good luck.